What's up, boys and girls? It's Professor G, and we back in the saddle again as we get ready to rock on towards the final week of the NFL. So welcome back inside the barbershop. It's OG Sports Rap. Thanks for hanging out. Season's greetings to you and yours. Hope you are as, healthy as I am after a wonderful, wonderful holiday season of consuming food. Yes, if gluttony is indeed the sin, then yes, I spent a whole weekend of sitting with my palate, and I am not going to apologize for it at all. Now, in this quality radio podcast effort, however you want to look at it, we're going to talk a lot about the NFL. And while I don't appreciate the fact that the league has now decided it wants to confiscate, it's like a hostile takeover, so to speak, right now of Christmas Day. Again, now I'm not down with it. I think Christmas Day, like Charles Barkley said, should be considered an NBA holiday. I mean, let's be real for a second, but since the NFL is all about greed and greed is good, they have started taking away, a part of the fabric of Christmas. But we are here now, boys and girls. This is indeed the most wonderful time of the year, and it has absolutely nothing to do now with things such as gifts, because the NFL is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, they just do know how to play the game, and they do know how to keep it real as best they can. So as we speak right now, 12 teams are already in the tournament, with 2 more spots that are going to be decided this weekend. Final 2 spots will go to the winner of the AFC North. Only one team from the North. It'll be the Steelers or the Ravens. You couldn't play this out any better. Pittsburgh goes to Baltimore, wins a game when a controversial touchdown is taken away from Isaiah Likely. And anybody who's been with us since that knows, I think, that if indeed they followed the wording of that rule, it's a bad rule. It needs to be rewritten. You need to have a tweak in the policy. That said, Steelers had a chance, and karma is real. It really is. I'm not going to say I'm some kind of soothsayer or something like that, but karma is real. Maybe Pittsburgh, who's now lost their last 7 in Cleveland, they might have gone into Cleveland and won that game if the karma from the Baltimore game hadn't still been with them. Okay, so Steelers or Ravens from the North. I had the Steelers at the beginning of the season. I thought the Ravens were going to be a wild card. Some strange reason, I think the market corrects itself in Pittsburgh. Tyler Huntley has been a really efficient quarterback for the Ravens. I still am not crazy about the way that Todd Monken calls a game. All things being equal, a gut feeling tells me Baltimore goes to Pittsburgh, wins that game, because Pittsburgh's weapons are compromised right now without DK Metcalf. And if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, his absence of discipline, taking a shot at the fan, in my opinion, will be the reason that the Steelers don't make the playoffs. So as of right now, Denver and Kansas City, winners of the West and East respectively, are battling for the top spot right now. Okay, Jacksonville at 12-4 is in. Houston, the dark horse who I like to come off the edge in the AFC. Don't sleep on Houston. Buffalo has shown me once again they can make the tournament, but can you buy into Josh Allen? Look, people are killing McDermott for going for, 2-point conversion. You got Josh Allen. You got a play that you think wins. He's got to make that play. And in the crunch time, he didn't make it. That was a bad throw at a bad time. You can blame it on the weather all you want, but if you're an MVP, you make that throw and you stay in plausible position to possibly get the division title, okay? So that's how it looks right now in the tournament. Only one spot going into Week 18 left for grabs. So everybody's got their eyes on Ravens and Steelers this weekend. All right, over on the NFC side right now, as of Monday, Seattle at 13-3 has pretty much locked up the number 1 seed in the NFC. but that doesn't guarantee anything. Although, when I look at the body of work this year right now, I think all roads are going to go through Seattle. I'm not quite sure Caleb Williams is ready for that because Mike Macdonald's done a hell of a job with that Seahawks defense and the team as a whole. And I think that's a coach that the Ravens are really missing right now. I mean, that's the defense is, everybody loves Zach Orr, and it's a wonderful story and the whole bit. He ain't no Mike Macdonald. That's just how it is. And again, we'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the week. I got some of my experts coming through. Raven Point of View Mason is going to join us from Shadow League. We're going to talk more in great detail about the NFL a little bit later on in this program. But back to the NFC. Eagles in, Bears in. Clutch performance by the Eagles as, they clinched the East. So Philly, you don't have to have a heart attack about nothing like you've been doing all season long. They're right where they're supposed to be. Hell, they've only lost 5 games. Come on, man. And they look like they're rounding into form. So I can see Seattle versus Philadelphia in an NFC championship game. There are too many teams, Rams banged up a bit. The Packers, we don't know what's going to be the deal with Jordan Love. And even if he is healthy, this is the first time in this party. So we'll see how he makes it happen, if he can make it happen. So I can't buy into San Francisco just yet. I do realize that McCaffrey is back, but I think that the right defensive scheme can shut him down in a one-on-one matchup. I mean, apple don't fall far from the tree since you want to keep it like on the nepotism side. And, I've seen Kyle Shanahan frustrated where he just can't figure it out. And I look over at the NFC right now, and that's pretty much what Mike Macdonald does. So in a matchup between Philly and San Francisco, potentially in a conference semifinal, even on the road, I'm inclined to go with the Eagles. There, I've said it. Okay? I'm not going to ride or die because you can't ride or die, but, it has nothing to do with my sister-in-law's allegiance to, the Dirty Birds of the Northeast. I'd like to see Seattle and Philly because I think those two teams are the most championship prepared in the NFC. Now, you can always hit me up with your thoughts. Remember, I'm all over the place in cyberspace by social media. That's at The Sports Groove, 24/7, 365, computer, smartphone, tablet, however you get your social media groove on, I'm there. Now, there were a lot of other things that jumped off while we were kind of on a Christmas break, and we're going to talk about a few of those things. And again, I would like to say this. This was a magnificent week of NBA basketball. Okay, and I want to take a look back at Christmas in the NBA and the games since then. You see, I do believe that you really finally, after Christmas Day, have you get a legitimate window into the makeup of the season. And I will say this, you had to be impressed with what the New York Knicks did on Christmas Day. And I try not to be fanboy too much with them because, again, if you saw my social media posts, sometimes, Mike, the coach's rotation is perplexing to me. Mike Brown does some things that just seem a little wacky, but the Knicks were a little banged up. Mitchell Robinson came through, and there was a 5-possession attempt, shall we call it, for the Knicks to score somewhere in the middle of the third team. Now, the Knicks were down by 17, and one of the things I don't like is this whole notion that you can put the back of a team on Jalen Brunson, and he's just and he got the game to carry it, but he can't carry it in his body. It's just not built to be everything all the time, even though he is. And that's one of the things that you have to worry about with that team in terms of down the stretch. And I think for anybody that they're talking about right now in New York, and Giannis might be the key to get you to the final. I think they need a backup point guard too. Somebody to spell him, and that backup has to be able to score. That being said, I I was impressed with Karl Anthony Towns. I like the enforcer role Mitchell Robinson can play. That was a tremendous game. Only thing was missing for me in that was, well, being in the arena, and then the smart TV decided it wanted to trip out. Yeah, look, I'll get back to it a little bit later on in the program, but, you know, things were much more simple when the TV wasn't that damn smart and it wasn't thinking for you. You know, I mean, you know, it's like 3 minutes to go, and you see this clip talking about, you've been inactive for 4 hours. We're going to cut your black ass off in 3 minutes. And so you're looking for the, like, remote. And then you find that it's not that remote. Clock's still winding down. Game getting closer. Find the other remote. Oh, that's just the audio. It's okay. Well, then where is the remote there? Where is the remote? The game is in the key. And you get to finally the right one right at the time the TV goes black. Yes. So by then we're talking like, you know, a minute and a half left to go in the game. Fortunately, I'm streaming guy. Oh yeah. And didn't miss a minute. I was on delay. Didn't miss a minute. More to the story. Hey, the multiple devices. In this case, gentlemen, something to satisfy your sports habit as opposed to other things. But this is where devices work so well, because you just go right to the computer, and you had it up anyway because you were doing some stuff and you're watching it. And by the way, my new computer is like a multimedia studio. Did I tell you I love my wife? Okay. Anyway, just want to put that out there for public consumption. Anyway, so more to the story is, I'm telling you, man, technology is thinking for y'all. That's why we in the same predicament right now, you know, from the election, changing our society, you know, because you're letting electronics and shit like that basically control you. So here I am watching a game on a smart TV, and it's so damn smart that it doesn't realize that you don't cut off with 3 minutes to go and a comeback from 17 at the Garden. You just don't do it. There's nothing smart about that. You know, smart TVs are the work of the devil. They're like Alexa, you know. They're like Pam Bondi on Cross, you know. What's her name? Christy Nome, you know, before subcommittee. It's ridiculous. We don't need it. Don't want it. Don't believe it. Why? You're not that smart. And when you're dumb and relied on, you know, you kind of like getting in the way. I'm sure there's some people that you know like that. And again, hit me up at The Sports Groove. I'd love to see your video. Send me some audio. You become a part of the show at The Sports Groove. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I got more of what you came here for on the other side. It's OG Sports Rap. The barbershop is open. Come on in, have a drink, get your trim, and you leave smarter than you were before you came. Holla back.
Come on, yo, time, he's on the line. This is knowledge and power for every mankind. For every generation that's in these streets. We making sure you ain't walking in your sleep. We're in your town, your city, and community, promoting good health, wealth, and unity.
Listen to the Wake Up Call with Reverend Horace Sheffield Saturdays at 8 a.m. on WGPR, 107.5, HD2, and on the Sports Rap mobile app.
It's your boy, Professor G, back at it. It's OG Sports Rap. You know, the only place in cyberspace that gives you a chance to, you know, walk in looking and feeling some type of way and leaving with an edge. And it's all right to have an edge. You got to have an edge these days. Hell, life's on the edge these days, but that's a topic for another conversation. As always, hit me at The Sports Groove. Check out the of your boy on TikTok and Instagram for sure. Join the party. And we're going to have a good old time. And I got to admit, as a pure college football fan who hadn't had a dog in the fight, any fight, I don't care whether it's HBCU, my pro teams suck this year. You know, get a chance to work the Maryland beat, another 4-8 football season in the Big Ten. I mean, hell, they didn't even get the mayonnaise bowl trip invite this year. But that just makes it all the sweeter. That's coming up on New Year's Eve. Ohio State, a number 2 seed in the college football playoffs, going to open up the quarterfinal round of the tournament against my beloved University of Miami Hurricanes. The tradition of excellence, including Hall of Famers like Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis. Man, it's just so many people. Ed Reed got to be up in there one day, too, all right? Let's be clear about that. But the Cotton Bowl, I guess, it's funny how you got two teams that I just can't bring in my good conscience to visit, Florida and Ohio State meeting in Texas, another place that I'm not fond of visiting these days. Anyway, Ohio State gets to you. It's must-see TV on Thursday, So I would have to say Ohio State has to be somewhat of the betting favorite, if you will, but I'm still buying in on the used defense. And the old adage, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. And the used defense, when they went to College Station and they held a pretty electric offense to like 3 points, I was like, okay, I'm a believer now. Speed, coaching, talent, and confidence. But I am kind of worried because my boy Jeff Fox has been like incognito. And they have told me that, down in Miami, as long as the U are winning, it makes the deal with the pathetic nature of the Dolphins easier now. Because they were going through like football hell for a while because both the U and the Dolphins stink. Well, now it's just the Dolphins who stink. And by the way, all right, with all due respect, when do you start looking at pro football coaches in Miami? I mean, what is, for a guy that runs a cruise line, their owner, Stephen Ross, he seems like he's in a rudderless boat on South Beach. It looks good. It sits in the water, but it just doesn't run. It goes nowhere. That's the Dolphins as a franchise. Remember Sonny Crockett and his boat, which he never took out, but he had his alligator to protect his boat on Miami Vice? And I'm sorry, if you have a certain age, remember, this is OG Sports Rap. Check out Miami Vice. If for no other reasons than the cards. Now, the wardrobe of Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas, it has not aged well. Let's just say the merry-go-round collection of loud and outlandish wares, which was only at that time exceeded by that of international mail. When we were mail ordering our stuff before the days of Temu. And I don't know if y'all noticed or not, when it comes to Temu, they've been making a lot of mistakes. Yeah. A lot of mistakes since the tariffs have come. Not the spot it used to be. Just saying, especially now as far as electronics and all that other stuff. And that's an unsolicited announcement from your boy, all right? And then they can't hate on me at all because I have dropped a mint with them over my days. But enough of all that. That's the game for me this week. I mean, once, and it's a fanboy game for sure, but this is a great week of college football. It just is. And, I mean, once you make it through the one game on Thursday, Friday is just incredible. I mean, one game on Wednesday, pardon me. Right. So I'm basically kind of building towards the crescendo of emotion and trying to find an orange U gear in the DMV. It's just not working, tragic. But that's your Cotton Bowl matchup. I'm leaning with the heart for sure, but I'm going to take Miami to upset Ohio State. I think their defense can play with Ohio State. The trick is, I don't know if they can contain the passing game enough to keep up, and I don't like Carson Beck as a quarterback to come from behind. I think he's the guy that has to stay ahead or at least even, and that's what happened in College Station. You can't bank on, 10 points and winning. Again, they're going to have to find some offense, and Carson Beck's got to make some plays because I done seen enough of his story, wonderful story or whatever, up close and personal win the damn game. Okay, go straight Steve Walsh on it. All right. I'm not asking him to manage the game, make the plays when they're there, and survive in advance. Now, I will say this: when you grew up a certain way like we did, and I'm talking about the OGs, right? All right. Our New Year's Day was really started with like the Cotton Bowl. Then you had the Cotton and the Sugar Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl was always on CBS. The Sugar Bowl was always on ABC. The Cotton Bowl just kind of traditionally was like a boring game. I mean, and then you get bad weather. Now it's got juice. And I've been to the Cotton Bowl as a stadium boy. And first off, if you're a broadcaster, man, it's so far up there, the game looks like it's on video. I'm just saying. You're seeing little specks run around. You got to identify them. It was one of the toughest challenges I ever had in doing play-by-play for a game. But it just looks weird when you grow up, and first off, I grew up in the days of a guy named Kurt Gowdy and NBC's NFL crew that were then the only time that they had college football games on at that time, and there was no Peacock, believe it or not, boys and girls. Yeah, no, right. There was no Peacock. There were no streaming services. So you sat. My day was set. New Year's Day has always been the greatest day of the year for me because you got 4 college football games. I love college football games, pageantry and all that kind of stuff. And it was even bigger for me when I was a kid. So you get used to waking up. You deal with the Cotton Bowl because it would get an earlier start than the Sugar Bowl if you're in the eastern part of the country. But as soon as the Sugar Bowl came on, they normally had great matchups. It would be like a big-time SEC team against a big-time Big Ten team. I remember Alabama and Penn State one year. Your boy Todd Blackledge, who was on the call of the NBC game this weekend. He had one of those NBC games. And I remember him at Penn State going up against, I forgot who was on Alabama at that team. That was a great day. Then you flip. You move over and then you go to USC taking on Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. That to me, that's college football. If I see what I'm saying, I grew up in a time where the Pac-8, which would ultimately become the Pac-10, I think they ultimately became the Pac. And now that they're gone, right? It just seems like it's hollow to me on New Year's Day. I mean, it's great that you got a Rose Bowl game that's coming up. I'm a big fan of Rose Bowl, but some just. When I see number 1 Indiana take on number 9 Alabama at the Rose Bowl, it looks good, but it's kind of like chewy milk. I'll never get into it. Now just as a visual, now I'll tell you what I will get into is watching Fernando Mendoza against the Bama defense. Because to me, if he goes up against a Bama defense and he does what he did against Big Ten defenses, he's clearly the number 1 pick in the draft. With all due respect to Justin Sane, I'll give you that, but I can't wait to see him at the Combine. And I'm rarely, if ever, have said that. Even when you had the Michael Vicks and the Lamar Jacksons, because you're seeing their dynamic personalities throughout the course of their careers. Like now, the Combine, and y'all hear me, you probably, it's the underwear Olympics, man. We dress you guys up in Under Armour, it's male lingerie they running around, and I don't want that. I've never once covered the Combine. First off, it's in Indianapolis, which ain't my favorite town. I don't give a damn what Pat McAfee says. All right, it's boring, man. I mean, you admire Reggie Miller for making the Indiana home all those years, being an LA kid. You see, when his career was up, he didn't put up no roots there. He went back to the West Coast where you can have a life. Now, I will say in the tradition of college football, we do get a classic matchup in the Sugar Bowl. And you got number 3 Georgia and number 6 Ole Miss, and thank God I got out of there early, because when the Georgia folk and the Mississippi folks converge in New Orleans, you have to wonder if a Klan convention is going to jump off. Anyway, Georgia, because I can't believe that in a game like this, the distraction of having a new coach is going to be something when you got a well-coached, disciplined, hard-hitting, fast team. They can big play you offensively. They can big play you defensively. I just think that emotionally, Ole Miss is going to be scattered. I think Georgia, if this were a fight in a tournament, this would probably be a bye or a walkover. You wouldn't even throw a punch, but somebody's already delivered a blow, all right? And it was a wonderful situation that Lane Kiffin brought Ole Miss to, but Ole Miss said we got to put ourselves in place so we can move on, and we'll see who's right in this matter. Because it was a scenario where I guess 2 wrongs kind of don't make a right. Because if you're committed to the program, you don't interview at LSU if you're Lane Kiffin. But if you don't think you can ever win a national championship at Ole Miss, then you got to, fish or cut bait. And so it looks like he cut bait at Ole Miss, but he wanted to fish for a national championship, because scenario could have changed and could have indeed changed his mind if he was really, really feeling some type of way about wanting to coach Ole Miss. And I think it'll be interesting to see how the karma of that plays out, because I understand Ole Miss feeling some type of way and then trying to move on as quick as possible. But sometimes you might want to let a special moment play out. And I think they clipped it too soon emotionally and not pragmatically. We're talking about coaching the college football game and setting ourselves up for another, possible run at a national championship for the future just by the presence of being there. I think some cooler heads could have prevailed in that. But then again, man, you got like big egos, big old statement, foghorn, langhorn, eagle. You know what I'm saying? I do declare as my southern eagle descendant of slave-owning gentlemen, we can't work it out. So poor Ole Miss, great season will come to an end in the Sugar Bowl this week. We'll talk more about that down the line as we continue to rock on. It's OG Sports Rap. Hey, come on, hang out with the old dogs. You might learn something before he's done. Holla back. I'm Professor G. Mark Gray, and Sports Rap continues. OG Sports Rap, that is. Old school knowledge, new school flavor. Thanks for hanging out with us as we continue to move this thing along. And speaking of, for moving along, this comes from the I'm the smartest guy in the room file. And if you're screwing up, then I can berate you just because. I bring that up because anybody saw the Lakers on Christmas Day, you saw the best and the worst of JJ Reddick. Now, for the record, let's just preface this by saying that since becoming a head coach with the Lakers, he's won 62% of his games. All right. Last year's team, despite the injuries and all of that, they still won 50 games. So you have to respect the coach who wins 50 games. Now, for his career, okay, he's 69 and 42. So in his first 2 years, he's 17 games, above 500. Well, and he's led his team to an in-season championship, whatever that might be. But in the real show, he got into the first round of the playoffs last year and lost in 5 games. All right, so those are the merits of JJ Reddick right now. But I'm going to tell you something, man. Yeah, the Lakers played like butt on Christmas Day. But indeed, it was Christmas Day. They were flat. And again, sometimes when you're playing on Christmas Day at home, it just doesn't agree with you. All right? Now, that being said, I'm getting sick and tired of watching JJ Reddick, who has yet to get to the NBA Finals, has yet to get to the conference finals, screaming demands on his team like he's a savvy veteran coach with decades of championships, hanging on the wall. Let's be clear about something. JJ Reddick is not Phil Jackson. He's not Pat Riley yet. All right. So you can't just come off as though you're so disgusted with every single loss that you have to address the media with an edge and border on berating your locker room. Now, here's the deal. You may have the backing of management to do your thing, and your numbers speak volumes about your basketball acumen. I'm not taking anything away from JJ Reddick's knowledge. There's a way you address your team, though, okay? And as much or as many times as you would see a Hall of Fame coach, let's use Steve Kerr as an example, groomed in the ways of Greg Popovich. Now Pop was surly with the media, but he also dealt with them in a way in frustration that you could understand where he was coming from. JJ Reddick is going to have one of 3 things happen to him. It's going to be either a heart attack, a stroke, or he's going to get fired by the Lakers. Seriously. You just can't grate on players the way that he does. I don't think his coaching style, that Egyptian slave aspect, is going to fly with this generation of players, especially when you grooming a team of players that's going to primarily come from Europe. And, you're building around Luka Doncic. And as we saw in Dallas, screaming at Luka don't work. And then when you come out and you tell the media, I told the players in the locker room, tomorrow's practice is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be really uncomfortable. Hey, look, there's nothing you can do to make it uncomfortable for LeBron. What, LeBron got 3 chips? Come on, man. there's a problem when you're addressing the team like that. And if Jay wants to get the best out of this iteration of the Lakers, of which Magic Johnson still has a piece of the team from, they need to consult. They really do. Because I'm not quite sure JJ Reddick is as much of a communicator as much as he is a tyrannical dictator. And that does not fly in the association, okay? You flex on your players the wrong way, they will flex back. And it'll be reflective of late defensive rotations, own coverages, and the inability to extra highly sophisticated, can't be denied Albert Einstein basketball offense. If you're going to be cursing people out and acting like a petulant child, win a damn championship first, dog. 50 and 32 in the regular season and an in-season championship is what you got right now, which ain't much. An in-season championship. Yeah. Weren't y'all the ones that was thinking about or hanging a banner up after that? So come on, JJ, stop it. Stop with the nonsense. You ain't at Duke no more. You ain't Krzyzewski, okay? Let's be clear about that. You are not Mike Krzyzewski. You one of his faves, but you ain't him, all right? Let's be clear about that. You ain't no Grant Hill when it comes to basketball acumen and savvy. Chill, bruh. I'm telling you, you're going down the wrong road that's going to be detrimental to your career. Because I personally don't want you back behind the microphone, but you fast-tracking for attitude alone. You can't be going up in there as a still newbie head coach addressing grown-ass men with decades in the game like they children. Now, he better fix some things, and these next 3 months or so, because, look, LeBron will break down again. It happens, okay? He don't have a whole lot of tread left on the tires, despite the $1 million that he spends annually on his body. He's given everything he can, and he just doesn't have as much to give as he used to. So you have to make the adjustment, Coach Brilliant, Coach Know-It-All, Coach berate my players. No, you don't do that. That might work with you in the annals of, Duke and all that kind of stuff. This ain't a generation of players that's going to respond pretty well to the old school ways of Coach K. Just look at what's happening with Doc Rivers right now. They've tuned him out in Milwaukee, and he's as old school gets. Tremendous basketball mind. Players ain't feeling him. There is a time when the ability to communicate with a generation passes you by and you need to step off. That's where Doc Rivers is right now. But JJ Reddick is too damn old to be operating like that. And the Lakers are in trouble, if you ask me, if he doesn't fix himself. That's right. Sometimes the coach has to be man enough to step up and say, they're just not getting me after a game. Or this is what I thought, and we will work to get better with it. But when you start opening up the windows and just some of the attacks, if you will. And again, he's got this emphasis on, his system that he plays. He's got all these algorithms and bullet points and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, they got to execute in crunch time, So he's supposed to be balancing high standards with a better understanding of individual player personalities, but then to go scorched earth after a game, and see, everybody seems to use an adjective that to me is not one that serves the NBA game as well as it does in college. And his peers, or I guess he likes to use the term maniacal attention to detail. That means you're a maniac, okay? And everybody is not constructed to deal with a tyrannical maniac. And that, to me, is what I see on the sidelines from JJ Reddick. He's got to fix that. The optics of him on the bench, the optics of him in postgame is not leadership. I'm sorry. And then another thing that I think is going to fail him miserably, he's married to his system. All this motion-heavy offense, off-ball screens, faster ball movement. And sometimes you got to let a player like Luka create. Or you let a player like LeBron hog the ball, let him create for Luka. But you can't just have your, offensive and defensive strategies built in stone. Because if you do, you don't have the ability to make any adjustments. And if you can't make adjustments, and that's the key to survival in life. I mean, we all going to be making adjustments until we die. And this is where we are. Now, he has been supposedly a guy that wants to meet the players where they are. Well, the players certainly ain't are. After a tough loss coming into the room, you curse them out and tell them practice is going to be uncomfortable. Nah, you don't show up. You just show up and make the threat, right? Nah, you have them come to practice and they figure it out. That was the brilliance of Pat Riley when he was the Lakers coach, because his wife was a psychologist and he brought psychology into the Lakers locker room, okay? I would suggest that JJ Reddick brings somebody of that ilk along to help him deal with his stresses, because he can't be wired as he is right now for 82 games and certainly stop taking, everything so personal. And when he fixes his demeanor, I think he'll get a lot more out of his team. But his demeanor and again, he's not Bobby Knight. He's not throwing chairs. He's not cursing out officials. But it's the edge of uncomfortability that he continues to try to project on grown-ass men, several of whom already have done something that he's never done, like win a world championship. Okay, if you're going to go and berating people, here's the deal, really. It's kind of like that dude who takes over a job, comes in, cleans house, and berates everybody, leaving the whole department in scorched earth. And then a couple years after that, he's failed or she's failed so miserably because of that stank attitude that the organization or the department has to rebuild itself again. This is such an important season for the Lakers because you don't know if you're going to have LeBron James back. We know the future is going to be built around Luka Doncic, but you still got to play for all the marbles this year in a tougher conference where OK City is the benchmark. You have to say that right there with them is San Antonio. Houston, if Kevin Durant stays healthy, is going to be a thing come May. So JJ Reddick had better make sure of two things. A, maybe the Lakers can get a little bit more slicker and polished in running their offense. I get all that. But as a leader, he can't come out in front of the press and chastise his team, berate them in a way that you talking down to players in many cases who are older than he is. And you can't do that. Not in that league. Not at this time, not with the juice that union has. Nah, JJ, you need to fix it because you got a great opportunity to do something big with one of the premier franchises in the world. But I think you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and find yourself on the sidelines calling games instead of coaching them if you don't fix that. It's your boy, Professor G. Hit me up at The Sports Group, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Become a part of the program. And look, we can agree to disagree. Back on the other side. Holla at your boy. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. I'm Professor G, and I approve this message.
My Uncle Mark, he's really smart. He knows a lot, but he's really old. He knows about TV without remote controls. He said something about black and white TVs. Was there really a time before the internet and no social media? How did they live? But you should listen to him on Sports Rap Network, because we all we got.
Good with the program. It is OG Sports Rap as we continue here. Thanks for hanging out, coming along for the ride. It's your boy, Professor G. Mari. Hope you had a great holiday experience. Mine was wonderful. The food was great. And did I mention the food was great? And by the way, got this great new toy that we're trying out this evening to, give you a little bit more of the Professor G barbershop experience. Now, with all that being said, the time has come also to address one of the quandaries of technology that has now become a part of Christmas. Many of you out there were surprised that when you got home or when you looked under the tree or whatever, that there was this large box that was going to have a smart TV to be installed in your crib, right? You're so looking forward to putting it up, okay? And the best of the best know if they don't know how to do it, they got the right people in place so that they can get it done. I bring that up because I had a brush with a smart TV. And it just, these smart TVs these days are scary because they can be real brats. And there's nothing worse than having a television that's acting like a preschooler. For no other reason, in the midst of a great contest, it's just going to say, idle time, I'm turning off. Hey, look, dude, down the stretch of an exciting Knicks game, I do not need my smart TV to freeze. Because to me, that ain't that smart. That's where technology has, usurped reality. I mean, if the smart TV is supposed to be so damn smart, why wasn't it smart enough to know that you don't pause in the heat of a game? Come on, man. Christmas too? That's just like the NFL hijacking Christmas or something. It's just bad. Do we really need smart TVs? I mean, think about it. If a TV has to think for you, you got bigger problems than knowing how to put the TV together, with all due respect. I mean, there's some things that I do in life want to think for, and one of them is the smart TV. Because you know what ultimately happens? All right, you're in the midst of a long-winded experience, right? Say you're watching a football game, and the game is long, and you keep it on the channel, for all the time that the game is in. So somewhere around a 2-minute warning, and you coming up on the 4-minute mark, it starts counting down that we get ready to cut off. Why? Do we really need that as an option? For real. Because who's really thinking about that when you're grilling and cooking and all that kind of stuff? Now, again, if those of you, gadget geeks are out there that get off on stuff like that, more power to you. But if a TV is so damn smart, then why do we need 2 or 3 remotes to turn it on and turn it off? I mean, think about it for a second. Black in the day, where I grew up, we didn't have any TV remotes. You know what a TV remote was? Me, youngest person in the room. You got up, you got your seat, the commercial came on, you walked over to the TV, and you were smart enough to know how to change the channel. Then at the end of the commercial break, you go back over to the TV because you were the youngest in the room. To me, I was the personal human remote. I remember it very, very, very well. Now, if it takes all day and multiple remotes to change the channel, what makes that TV smart? It's smart. You're supposed to catch on and do stuff quick, right? What does that make you when you get in the way? Call it what it is. Either dumb TV or problem child TV. I'm just saying. You keep telling the kids sometimes, hey, look, stay away from the stove. You might get burned. Kid keeps defying you. Hey, get away from the stove. You might get burned. This kid still keeps giving up. Hey, and you scream the next time, try to scare him, and then the kid goes over there by the oven and bow. What happened? I didn't put my hand on the oven. You burned yourself, did you? Okay. Here goes some ice, and then they start getting really scared when the puff bubble comes up. I can't confirm nor deny that it's happened to me once in my lifetime before there was such a thing called smart TV. I mean, damn, if it's all that just to do the basic stuff, it's crazy. I mean, that's more like the TV version of Pam Bondi's Congressional Inquiry or Caroline Levitt press briefing. Not truthful, not that smart. Come on, man. If you're going to have a smart TV, it should do everything for me. I should be able to get a drink, right? Cup of coffee, got espresso. But don't be telling me that you're a smart TV when you're cutting off after 4 hours in the midst of a panic-driven game, and then you got to figure out, so you miss out stuff that you got to go back and rewind to catch up with it. Just not the same. Moral to the story, smart TV should not get in the way of the game, okay? Thank you for streaming services and all that cartoon stuff. That's wonderful, but smart TV will give you the blues. So if anybody knows how to help me work around there, some setting I need to change or whatever, please let me know, because I've been looking for that. That just can't happen. Compelling games, too. Riveting, edge of your seat. You've got to find the remote because we're counting down now. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but it happened. And my boys did win the game, and I was able to see it. So that's a great thing. As a matter of fact, I would like to hear Did you have any experiences over the Christmas holiday, clean experiences now that were funny, made me laugh, the chuckle? Please hit me up on social media at The Sports Groove. That would be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. While you're over there on Facebook, you can check us out on the HBCU Sports Nation fan page. Picking up players and followers one day at a time, all right? So, again, I'm looking for that Christmas moment that was frustratingly funny. I had mine, and I was not defeated by the smart TV. All right, it's your boy Marco the K, Gray with an A. Professor G is who I am. And remember, I'm here, 9-11 East Coast time, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8, out on West Side. So West Side folks, when you coming home after that happy hour following work, remember to hit your boy up, because I know you out there, you need a little counseling, maybe soul searching or escape routes from ICE. Anyway, as we rock on, I just want to know something here, because a lot of people mock me because, for the last 3-4 days after Christmas, to hell with anything, and I'm a restaurant. Let's just say I've mastered the art of eating good in my neighborhood. First name basis with bartenders. They even actually know what my options are and what I'm in the mood for. It's really fascinating stuff, okay? But, after Thanksgiving and Christmas, for me, I may go, pop a cold one or whatever, have a spirit or two with my spirited friends, of course. But you get into the conversation where, 2 days after Christmas, you're seeing somebody eat chicken tenders at the bar. You're going, dude, have you gotten rid of all the Christmas food already? No, man, I can't be eating Christmas food after 2 days. Do you realize 2 days after the Christmas food, the leftovers, they're better than when they come out. The seasonings and stuff have already fermented, and it's it's like a great meal, that's a bottle of wine that you pop open after it's marinated long enough, and it's perfection. Yet the world mocks me so. I'm saying, each day that you are, able to get your grub on, and that's what I do in the holidays, okay? I try to eat somewhat bashfully. I'm that old dude now. He'll be 60 next year, so he's replaced one solid meal a day with a smoothie, handmade, of course. But after the holidays, and I've also noticed, I used to be able to sit at the table after the Christmas meal and go back for a second the next day and said, I won't be defeated by food. You know something? I'm not defeated by food anymore. I just quit, After the, time was back in the day, you had 3 plates for 2 days. Oh, no, I'm good with one great big Christmas plate for 3 days. That's literally what you call the gift that keeps on giving. Well, if you got a mommy that cooks like mine, now you got to, there are layers to this. There's some stuff, some places I've been back in the day, and there's this misnomer that people in the South really know how to do it well. Well, that ain't the case with everybody. I'll just put it to you like that. Had some wonderful moments where you were invited over to somebody's home and it just didn't agree with your palate. But enough of all that. So people are trying to tell me right now that if you're holding on to your leftovers after 2-3 days, that you're committing some kind of holiday sin. Do you realize I cannot space out mommy's cooking long enough, okay? If I could clone it, the Christmas meal, if I could clone it, if I could do something that would just extend its life, so I could have it beyond March Madness, on into the heart of baseball season, I would do that. I don't see anything wrong with that. You will not mock me for that. I will not feel bad about that, because I want more of that. And it's getting to the end. And the palate won't be the same for another year. And then people just look at me like I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I know it's good for me, And look, let me tell you something. I'm not going to mock the medicinal quality of the chicken tender, the bar food of the Gen Xeration. Back in the day, to soak up the liquor, what the elders have? Popcorn and peanuts? Dude, if you can get the chicken tender, if the chicken tender, I might add, doesn't soak up your liquor, then you need to call an Uber. Yeah, that should be the benchmark if you can't tell when you're in the throes of a uncontrollable buzz. Yeah, well, if you don't feel the, qualities of the chicken tender, let's be real for a second. That has replaced like the pretzel on the all-time bar food, fuck liquor up so you can act like you know and get home safely food. I'm telling you, I'm doing the work for you free of charge, man. That's how I earned the right to become an OG. Not that I would encourage behaviors like that, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you didn't mean to do what you're doing, That's OG knowledge, Anyway, back on the other side, boys and girls, we got more of what you came here for. It is OG Sports Rap. On the network, I'm Professor G. Y'all come back now, you hear? All right, what's the deal, boys and girls? Your boy Mark Ray, Professor G is back at it as we continue to move it along. It is OG Sports Rap, constantly constantly aspiring to bring you a perspective on sports so that you can understand that the more things change, the more they do, in fact, stay the same. Don't forget, hit me up on the Sports Groove fan page on Facebook, Sports Groove Media Network. Also, those of you who are HBCU heads, make sure you hit me up on the HBCU Sports Nation fan page on a spot near you. But, we're in the throes of these college football matchups where they're bowl games. And I mean, whether you're playing for Pop-Tarts or the rep for the military, you still are playing bowl games. And remember, there's nothing bad with bowl games. I mean, there are a lot of people who look down on teams who are playing in bowl games, but, kids do get presents. It's not like they're going out there and necessarily working for free. Of course, a lot of them already got NIL deals, so it really doesn't matter. But I'm finding it interesting, we have now crossed over into uncharted college postseason waters where we can now say that I'm pretty sure a lot of athletes are going to be like, yo, if I can't go to the college football playoffs and you have an array of bowls to go to, would you rather go to, say, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, or would you rather go to the Snoop Dogg Bowl? Let me tell you something, folks. Even as one who's not the biggest fan of the bowl extravaganza, I think the Snoop Dogg Bowl just might be something that's on my bucket list. Now, there's some guys I know that turned me on to a different use for a bucket back in the day before there were dispensaries and stuff like that. So I'm thinking to myself, I know a lot of guys back in the day that played in major bowl games around the country, and they used to always come back with these big gift bags and all that kind of stuff. They had like video games and stuff in it. I know some guys got laptops and tablets and high-end cell phones, depending on who was the sponsor of the game. Seems to me, going to a bowl game, you get free gear, new gear, with your bowl stuff on it. If you win the game, you get a ring. Sometimes people just give you a ring just for showing up as a participant in the game. I mean, they've always given trinkets. Big-time trinkets. It was like, you get these bags, my boys would show me, and the bags would be like something from a celebrity or, award show, like a Grammy bag or an Emmy bag or an Oscar bag, which they tell me because I'm about the swag, okay? You get me at the swag, okay? Hey, because if it's free, it's for me. I'm all in with that. And I'm trying to get 3 for real because I would like to share, but that's a topic for another conversation altogether. Still, in the interest of full disclosure, when I found out that Snoop and Dre, and for those of you who are tragically cool impaired and do not know who these people are in my generation, you need to get out more while you can before Tom Holman takes over of things. Like he says, he's going to change things up next year, but we will stay away from that. I will tell you one thing. I found myself compelled to watch the Snoop Dogg Bowl. That's right. I mean, think about it. In the inaugural 2024 Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, which is an oxymoron into itself. I mean, you think about it for a second. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. I guess that means we came a long way from when Public Enemy was singing, "By the time I get to Arizona." You know what I'm saying? So in 2024, Snoop, being the ambassador that he is, set up a Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. And at that time, you know, the student athletes got a whole bunch of high-end gifts that, you know, played into what some people would call a legendary persona, and includes his partnership, which we all know has been of Hall of Fame quality, with Dr. Dre. And if you don't know who Dr. Dre is, then you really, really need to catch up. Now, that year, however, it was great because the standout gift items were the winners of the bowl game, who were Fresno State. They were gifted gold Death Row record chains. Not a bad look. And the players and coaches even wore them during the post-game show, which is phenomenal. Nothing like seeing a white conservative guy put on a Death Row Records chain and try to be cool with it. He should have just kept it as an ornament. Anyway, Snoop signed off on some championship hats for the winning team. I mean, it was cool. It was nice. And then they announced in that matchup, it was a historic move that had set them up apart from other bowls when Snoop Dogg and the bowl's title sponsor, Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop, reached a historic name, image, and likeness agreement with participating student athletes for Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. Now, I know when Ed O'Bannon was suing the NCAA for name, images, and likeness, I'm not quite sure this is what he was looking forward to. But hey, think about it. All the swag bags and the Arizona Bowls have included items like inflatable couches. What you gonna do with an inflatable couch? Have it ready for when you go to the private party by Snoop Dogg. Hey, watches, phones, you know. This is a great way for him to market his brand. I think people sleep on rappers and whatnot because, quite frankly, there's enough. Snoop cut his teeth being a youth football coach. So you got to get a man credit where credit is due. When he puts on a show, he's putting on a show. And I'd have to say that, you know, his show in Arizona is something else. Snoop Dogg hosting or sponsoring a college football bowl game is one thing, but in Arizona, what? How can we bring him over to the HBCU side? I mean, I'm serious. Snoop ought to put his hands on the Grambling-Jackson State game in Vegas. Now, for the love of Procter & Gamble, I know you got great relationships. You should be the title sponsor, but y'all ought to work with Snoop. Let's be clear about that. We got to find a way to get Snoop or Luke into it. And given that Snoop is the market that the HBCUs want to reach, why haven't the HBCUs reached out to Snoop? And don't be uppity about this. Don't be scared because he's an open cannabis consumer. You know, it's not bad for your brand anymore. You know, you're always taking the lead anyway from what PWIs are doing. Now, all right, here's a time for a perfect, to me, working relationship. Because I would bet that there would be some customers of certain substances as soon as they graduate from school that may be interested in, I don't know, sampling the fruits of adulthood. So in keeping with the tradition of being the innovators that we are here on OG Sports Rap, bring, you know, clarity and innovation to all aspects of sports. I've come up with some alternate gift bag items for next year's Snoop Dogg Bowl game to make it far more attractive to, you know, a lot of kids are disappointed. They think after the bowls that they didn't make it into the college football playoffs, that the bowl season is just, well, you know, going through the motions. But again, you do feel good when you're treated special. So among the things that I would suggest that Snoop add to next year's, you know, goodie bag, how about the special brownie kit? Yeah, you know, a box of Martha Stewart approved brownie mix with a Snoop's secret seasoning packet. Now, again, that could turn out to be anything from sprinkles of seasoned salt to avoid NCAA trouble, or something from the Khalifa collection of assorted look like parsley flakes. Just saying, okay? I think that would really boost the interest. How about a Dogland affirmation alarm clock? How about that? The alarm clock wakes the athletes up, not with a buzz, but Snoop singing. Wakey, 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 eggs and bakey, nephew. Get that paper. That might motivate me to get to the gym. How about that? Another one I think you might want to consider is what they would call a chop it like it's hot cutting board. An official bamboo kitchen board for the student athlete who needs to do meal prep for the munchies. I mean, you know, again, kids got to eat, right? About an NIL deal in gin and juice. That's right. Now, it starts off as a non-alcoholic brand, but it's a lifetime supply of Snoop's Spirit brand. Now, given you start non-alcoholic for the under 21-year-old players, and then if you're above 21, hey, take your shot. Very small glass, I hope, and, you know, make sure you consume a lot of water afterwards because you're going to be playing in Arizona in a football game, and it just might be a little hot the next day. Here's one of my personal other favorites that I got. How about some emotional support? Snoop on a stoop. That's right, a foot-long plush doll of Snoop in a Santa outfit to help players deal with the stress of the transfer portal. Think about it. High stress. Do I want to get in the portal? Do I want to play the game? Uncle Snoop come back with some gummies, a little gin and juice. Matter of fact, gin and juice gummies. Hey, I mean, think about it. And then you could have like a customized Snoopified playbook. You know, you build your game plan for the Snoop Bowl where most of the play calls reflect certain elements of what has made the West Coast 90s rapper such an icon. I'd like to be in the huddle when a kid calls out the 49, go left, slant right, gin and juice screen pass on 2. Great. Then how about coming in like, all right, fellas, here's what we're going to do. We got 3 seconds left to go in the game. So we're going to go with the play. What play you talking about, fellas? You know the play. What play? You know the drop it like it's hot flea flicker? We've never lost with that play. So we're going to drop it like it's hot on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Break. They win the touchdown. It becomes one of those plays where Randy Moss is out there saying, you got Mossed. And it becomes a top 10 performance on the worldwide leader. I also think that you should have personalized birth dizzle cards. Yeah, pre-signed birthday cards for the players' mothers because Snoop is a famously family man, encouraging the bonding of the family who's in Arizona, coming from South Central trying to stay out of trouble. But I digress. Then you could also have snacks, 2 in cheddar chips, a literal industrial-sized trash bag full of Snoop's signature brand of potato chips. I don't know about that and know about you, but a lot of that stuff will motivate me to want to go to Arizona and spend some of my Christmas time. What say you? Anyway, it's your boy Professor G, holding it down. It's OG Sports Rap. OG Sports Rap continues as we round third and get set to head for home. Your boy Mark Gray back at it. I spell it Mark with a K, Gray with an A, but you know me. I'm Professor G, and it's the last call. No more clips. Well, actually, no more drinks. We got a few more clips. And I think we need to clip right now somebody who I would refer to these days as the female version of Drake. You might have heard of her, Nicki Minaj. You know how Drake got canceled by Kendrick Lamar? I wonder which of the hip-hop ladies is going to step up and cancel Nicki Minaj's stank. I mean, and who knew that she would take advantage of the perks of America to become self-made, you know, celebrity, superstar, millionaire, and then like turn her back on the very audience that made her money when she lost her mind and decided to go, you know, straight crazy, if you will, on this notion of backing a guy who clearly, absolutely has no respect for women. All right, let's be clear about that. And I'm not going to mention the orange bastard by name. Let's just say Stephen A. is up his backside. All right. But I'm one of those people who believe that now that Nicki Minaj has opened up her can of worms with being, well, let's be frank, a MAGA bitch. I said it, and when you look at the way that Black American women were the first to be crapped on when this jackass came in and started taking federal jobs. And here's a woman who has shaked their ass to at least be a one-time worth $7 million. Okay, so you like a $7 million skank, and you have no morals, and you should be cut off by the community. There should be a Nicki Minaj blackout. I'm openly for that right now. Cancel her in the same way that y'all canceled Drake. All right. Now, again, Drake just looks like a punk because he got, drugged by Kendrick Lamar lyrically. That's what it was. And the lyrics were so deep and so powerful that they resonated culturally. But now here we are with Nicki Minaj, whose lyrics have done nothing but make her look like a prostitute. And now we see that backing someone who has absolutely no feeling or vibe about deporting her, putting her in a concentration camp. And she gonna call this dude handsome. Now, everybody got their taste. And maybe her taste, and we all know she's been tasting a lot throughout her career, at least the way she sings about it. Yeah, I'm shaming her. And I'll take the hit from the feminazis, if you will, only because she ain't one you should fall on your sword for, or in her case, on your back for. All right? Let's be clear about that. There's not a place in African-American culture, Black American culture for Nicki Minaj anymore. She's a straight sellout. And once again, you get all these people to come over here in the country right now. And I don't want to sound like a bigot, but people, and pretty much most of yours laid the foundation so they could take care of the opportunities that's here. And she got paid and was warmly embraced for basically being a slut behind the microphone. And then she gonna turn around and not roll with the people that made her rich. Whatever the hell happens to Nicki Minaj, she deserves it. I said it. Sometimes you gotta stand for something. But then again, when you do your best work on your back, what do you know about standing for anything? Nicki, darling Nicki. Man, Prince had it right. Thank you for a funky good time. Come on over after 9. That's what you worth. A disgraceful, pathetic woman who is shameful to classy women of color. That's what it is. Nicki Minaj would have the audacity to go public to back a guy that is a woman of color with a lot more character than you, but still, y'all hold the same type of banner of successful women of color. And you're going to turn your back? You're going to support somebody that's going to ship you out of here and leave you in harm's way? You are dumber than your lyrics. I said it. And see, I'm a girl dad, so I take stuff like this pretty personal. And that is not the role model for anybody. And I'm glad to see that your girl's been dealing with some significant social media fallout, okay? There are a lot of people who said she lost about 10 million followers. According to my research, it's been a little bit closer to more than 3 to 4 million followers, but I'm sure it will continue to decrease after that God-forsaken America Fest appearance. And here's what's even more crazy. It's not even about the fans, even though they spoke volumes about what they thought of her when they dropped her. But she getting harsh criticism from people who were jived like in Trump's camp. Joe Budden cut her off publicly. Cardi B's fans also used the moment to show about the differences between those two as it relates to politics. So she stepped over into a land where she has no place, okay? And just think about it. The next time, you hear that skank record on any of your devices, remember, she's standing on the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Think about that. And she was all over that Turning Point event, and she was all about it when she went to the United Nations. She thinks she's got enough swag to go on stage and call California Governor Gavin Newsom using the nickname New Scum. Damn, Nicki, you gonna call somebody new scum? You a new hoe, all right? Let's be clear, and gonna criticize policies regarding transgender youth, stating that boys should be boys. What does that mean? Huh? So look, she always tries to use this whole deal where she's a victim, where she's, framing herself after being pushed around by the music industry. No, you weren't pushed around. You were bent over. That's what you are. So you can't be slurred enough. She's trying to get a presidential pardon, and it's so convenient at this moment in time because her husband, Kenneth Petty, is a registered sex offender. So you think about it. A hoe on the mic marries a registered sex offender and then backs a pedophile. What kind of pathetic, disgraceful human being that you are. I will say this publicly. The night that your parents conceived you, Nicki Minaj, they should have gone to bed. Really. The only thing you are a role model for, quite frankly, is being an ignorant skank. Period, point blank, sentence. And I don't use that term loosely, and I don't use it often, but you are a disgrace, really. You're a disgrace to people of color. You should be canceled. Nobody who is certainly black and American should ever buy any of your music again, all right? And if you so hell-bent, hey, just go somewhere else, man. Go back to Nigeria. Well, it'll be interesting to see with Nigeria getting bombed on Christmas, how they gonna accept you. I mean, you can already get into a point right now where you're gonna try to run from deportation in a country where you can't hide, and you're gonna find yourself in a world where no one wants you on their soil. And it's great. I love seeing people like you crash like that because you forget where you're from. You get this whole condescending demeanor about yourself and you're better than somebody. Boo, you're not. Okay? Nicki Minaj, you've done nothing but shake your ass to make your money. There's no honor in that, unless you're on South Beach in a strip bar. That's what you are, okay? I hate to make that Barry Manilow reference from Copacabana, but you just became Lola the Showgirl, but that was 10 years ago when you used to have a show, right? That's where you at right now. Pathetic disgrace. And I know one thing, I'm going to have fun shaming you, and I'm going to have fun watching you fall. And I ain't that dude that likes to see anybody fail. Because you was almost on that level of being that chick, you could say, well, you could tell your daughter or something like that. You'd be like, oh, look at her, she playing that role and clocking papers. But what we found out is that when you do a deeper dive into the recesses of her soul, that's who she is. Yeah, I'll talk bad, but I'll staple a mattress to my back and I will spread my legs and I will get paid. And guess what? Now you've done all that and you about to get canceled. How you feel about that, right? How do you? The same people, great women are being disrespected, shamefully disrespected by a man you making sure that you cover his back. Are you kidding me? So I don't want to hear it anymore. I know this is supposed to be the holy time of year where you forgive and you forget. There have been too many black folks, Stephen A. included, who don't want to cancel our community because we're pushing back against tyranny that our, elders fought for. And then when you got a big platform like she does and you chose to go so far to the right and you ain't really a True Blood. Y'all remember True Blood used to come on after The Wire on HBO? You had, monsters versus shifters, and the shifters were the ones that could change themselves into vampires and all that kind of stuff. It was a really weird phenomenon, bordering on outrageous. But if there's ever been a real life shifter, somebody who's got a demon seed in their soul, who came to the States, pimped us out so that she can make her money acting like a hoe, who turns her back on the community that had put her out there, defended her, was ready to go to bat for his pedophile husband before he got shipped out. Man, Nicki Minaj can go to hell. Well, I don't even know if Satan would want to be bothered with her anymore, largely because look at how many people don't wore her out while she was in the real world. There's no place for Nicki Minaj in our community. Burn her record. I would be the one that would be down to say, you remember how they used to do in baseball where they had disco demolition night? I'm offering up this year's famous baseball night. Nicki Minaj, Night at the Ballpark. Burn all her music in effigy so that we may never have her and deport her too. Yep, I like to see how she hangs out in one of them concentration camps. Matter of fact, the way with her lyrics move, she might be in whole heaven. That's going to do it for me, Professor G. The Sports OG. It's been OG Sports Rap on the network. I got a 22-hour break. I'm back at you then. Till that time, peace, love, and no Nicki Minaj. Holla!